right, thank you very much. We're here at the Montgomery Summit. I am joined by Damien of Stackla, who is bringing incredibly innovative content distribution into the market. I rather wouldn't call it distribution, I would call it digital marketing with a very unique user edge. Can you talk to us about what you're doing?
So what Stackla is, it's a content marketing platform, and ultimately what we're doing for predominantly B2C marketers is we're discovering content for them, we're then storing it, and then we're recommending what they should publish out onto their key digital marketing channels.
That is very, very interesting. And I understand that there's also sort of a crowdsourcing nature to your product.
Absolutely. So the key focus for how we source content is predominantly from social networks. So there's an absolute plethora of content that's generated every day on social networks. We're looking at upwards of 3 billion pieces of content we can source from. And you can imagine that within that 3 billion pieces of content, there's some absolute gold, particularly for brands. So if you're talking about authentic customer stories and authentic customer endorsements, that's what we primarily focus upon. And then we combine that with the owned assets, so anything that's been created by an agency or an internal team, and we're essentially storing this in an asset management piece of technology. And then the cool thing is that when a marketer goes in trying to find a piece of content, we actually recommend to them what they should be publishing. So it's quite a powerful tool, and it's sitting right at the heart of the marketing stack, and it's feeding CMS, it's feeding email, it's feeding e-commerce, and it's feeding ads with their rich and highly engaging and high-performing content.
I'd love to learn more about what sort of content in particular that customers of your customers are posting or using that really drives an effective brand experience. What are the sort of images that you see, or what is it that really drives a great user-first content experience? Is it specific to each individual brand, or is there a certain is it Instagram or is it Facebook where there's a certain platform where you find the most gold?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different layers to it. Look, Instagram is incredibly popular with the types of companies that we work with. So you think about B2C brands, we have a huge representation in automotive, in travel, in CPG. So a good example, one of our big customers is Ford. So they are collecting upwards of 300,000 pieces of content every month through our platform. So it's an absolute plethora of content that they're able to tap into. And they're utilising content a lot from Instagram. So somebody will take a photograph of their new Mustang or even their old Mustang. And Ford sees a huge value in this. It's a genuine customer endorsement of one of their products. Even if it's an older model, it doesn't really matter. Ultimately, it's contributing to their brand authenticity. And then they're featuring that content in a number of different ways on their website. So that's a typical example for Ford. A company like Expedia who uses our software, they're just trying to focus in on unique traveller experiences in specific destinations. One of the great things about user-generated content, because it's there in such abundance, it's really it's a great way to actually provide a personalised experience for each customer. So you can imagine all the different customer profiles that Expedia would have. Somebody who's looking at perhaps at Southeast Asia, they may be looking at Malaysia and Koh Samui as a particular destination. So a very specific want for that customer. They can then match up appropriate content to that customer to ensure that what they're seeing is contextual, and ultimately hoping that they will book that holiday through seeing some of the other great experiences that other travellers are having.
That's really fascinating. I heard something very interesting that Stackla was doing that I'd love to talk to you a little bit about. Is it true that you had a billboard or some sort of display with live images on it that you were sourcing real time?
Yeah, exactly. It was a really cool activation that we did with Topshop as part of London Fashion Week. So Topshop's their new collection was being shown on the runway, and what we were doing, we were basically keeping an eye on social media to see what garments were getting the most positive reception from people in the audience and people who were watching it live via London Fashion Week live stream. We were then matching the top performing items of clothing with their collection online, and so as well as seeing tweets coming up on live billboards, we were seeing those collections pop up as well. And then basically anybody who was seeing what was on screen could then tweet to Topshop. They would then receive the location of the nearest store and a discount to go and purchase that. So it was a great way for them to drive foot traffic to their retail locations and also drive up their online sales as part of that. So they had an 11-to-1 ROI on that particular exercise. So it just smashed all of their expectations, highly engaging, and the audiences loved it as well, and they were voting with their wallets.
That's amazing, Damien. And you're talking to me about a lot of data, and I can understand that you must be examining so many pieces of information. Are you using artificial intelligence, and what kind of tools are you using to farm that data for the most relevant content?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real key part of our technology. So as content comes into our platform, we use visual recognition to identify the different attributes of an image. So with the example that I gave before, if somebody's taken a photograph of their new Mustang, we'll identify what color the car is, are there people in it, are they wearing sunglasses, what type of background, is it a seaside background, is it a mountainous background? So that metadata is being applied as it comes in. We then look at other pieces of data just to apply an additional layer of metadata over the top of it so it becomes highly searchable. And then, as I mentioned to you before, we are actually recommending to the publisher or to the content editor, once they do search for a piece of content, what they should be publishing. So you can imagine in the case of Ford, like Mustangs are incredibly popular, so if they type in Mustang as a search query, they're going to get tens of thousands of results. So instead of showing them that and them having to sift through all of that, we will show them the top 10 or the top 20, which the algorithm believes will perform at a higher level, and ultimately not just what content to publish, but where they should be publishing it as well. So that utilisation of artificial intelligence is critical. It's taking a ton of the heavy lifting out of the workflow for content marketers. And a really good example of how that's represented in value for one of our customers, Cirque du Soleil is a customer of ours. They use our software globally, and you can imagine that they have content teams distributed all over the globe. And so they're getting a ton of content coming through our system. They say that their moderation and curation time has been reduced by 70% utilising our artificial intelligence capability, which by the way is called Copilot. So Copilot is delivering a huge level of efficiency for them. And the other, cool thing about that is that they're actually now publishing 10x the content they were previously. So wow. It's a huge return on investment for them and getting a high level of value out of our software.
Wow. Well, I want to say thank you, Damien. Stackla, advertising as a service, user content generation, fascinating what you're doing. We look forward to seeing and hearing more of you in the years to come.
Cool. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it, Sarah.
Thank you.